What's up to all my people, and welcome to Stoniecast number 124, Season 4, Episode 22 of Thoughts and Hunches, Making Money in Bunches and Sucker Punches. It's your boy Stony, coming back at you for the 124th time, and I'd like to welcome all of my fellow lowlife, scumbags, hoodlums, shady characters, anybody named Phil Mickelson, altar boys with unhealthy relationships with their priests, hustlers, foul-mouthed raging alcoholics, cheats, friends and family of the gooch, fienders with abusive language, and degenerates. Let's face it, basically anybody with a massive gambling problem. If you're new to the show, hey, you probably fit into one of those categories, or a few of them. So that makes you one of us. One of us, gooba gobble, one of us. We accepted one of us. Sorry. Sometimes I get a little carried away there. But hey, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down here in the lower right-hand corner. That way you can get notified every time I put out a new video. To spread the word is also very easy. Just tell other degenerates and scumbags you know to go to YouTube and enter Thoughts and Hunches in the search bar. That's going to take you right to my page so you can get dialed into everything that I give you, and it'll notify you when I put out a new video. Also, if you're new and you don't know what's with this channel, it's college and pro football winners, MLB playoff winners, and college basketball winners. I give you my picks to get you to the window with a ticket to cash. The books don't expect a guy like me to deliver this many winners. I'm an outlier and a disruptor. I'm like the Beastie Boys. Step into the party, disrupt the whole scene. Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Now, I go to the mattresses and I get the info for you every single week. This is the real deal, so there's no practice involved here. We ain't talking about the game, we talking about practice, man. No, not the game. We talking about practice. Just never gets old, does it? Now, before I get to the picks, as usual, I have a few thoughts and some programming notes. I can't help but go all in on the Jimmy Kimmel versus Aaron Rodgers feud from last week. Now, it's hard for me to take sides because I've been tearing Rodgers apart for years on this podcast, and I loathe Jimmy Kimmel for obvious reasons. It all started when Rodgers said during his weekly blowjob from Pat McAfee that many Hollywood types are worried about who's on the Jeffrey Epstein list, including Jimmy Kimmel. Kimmel got all hot and bothered in his girl panties, responded on his show threatening legal action and going off on Rodgers' lack of education based on his theory of not being vaccinated. Now, this is a quote. He thinks he's an expert because he can throw a football, is what Kimmel said, because Rodgers went to a community college and only got into Cal because he could play football. All this is because Rodgers doesn't believe in COVID vaccines. The education shaming from Kimmel is not a good look, and it all comes down to money. While Kimmel is generously paid by Disney, Rodgers and McAfee both make way more money than Kimmel and can buy him many times over. It was a flap between three people that I don't like, and I couldn't resist to throw a few sucker punches at these three douchebags. I touched on this last week when I said that the first NFL playoff game to be on pay-per-view last week, it's only a matter of time before the Super Bowl is on pay-per-view. Here's my thought. If we're paying for these games to be aired on an app or on pay-per-view or whatever, there should not be any commercials. The whole purpose of the NFL being shown on broadcast channels for free to the audience is because the advertisers pay for the games to get the audience to see their commercials. And they pay top dollar for it. So we have to sit through the commercials, thus making it a 3.5 hour marathon. Since the audience is paying for the right to watch the game, there should not be any commercials. Now, I don't mind ads during the broadcast, but they should not be showing commercials to people paying for the right to watch. That's television 101. It just reeks of hypocrisy and money by the NFL, which, let's face it, is one of the strongest companies in the world. It was very disturbing for me to see, but I can also see it through the eyes of Roger Goodell. and the greedy owners that have a license to basically print money, and we're the ones paying for it. But we should not have to sit through commercials. Ridiculous. Speaking of the NFL playoffs, is it me or was last weekend boring? I mean, let's face it. Aside from the Lions-Rams game, the other 5 games were not exciting, to say the least. It was blowout city. Now, I know I'm going to take some heat from some of you NFL diehards, but I'll take the college football playoff any day over the NFL playoffs. Hopefully that doesn't change by adding 8 more teams to the CFP next year. But a few weeks ago, both college football playoff games were great, as was the national championship. This weekend, hopefully things will be different, or maybe even next weekend. But last weekend only proved that too many teams make the NFL playoffs, thus watering down the product. The pageantry and the history of college football is timeless, and the NFL is never going to have that. Everything from the students to the alumni to the marching bands and the cheerleaders. Yeah, the NFL has the better players. I get that. But the CFP has the better overall product, period. As for the week that was, 7-5 in the NFL ain't great, but it's still a profit. And while I was busy building a bankroll throughout the week in college hoops, I shit all over myself on Sunday and Monday to fall to 45, 41, and 1 for the week in hoops, which will drop my numbers, but I still stayed in the black, making it a winning week. Here are the overall numbers. Last week total, 52 wins, 46 losses, 1 push, 53.06%. Not exactly a crowd pleaser, but it's still profitable, albeit barely. NFL playoffs, like I said, started 7-5, 58.33%. I'll take that every week, going all the way through the Super Bowl. NCAA hoops for the season, 365 wins, 275 losses, 4 pushes, 56.59%. The numbers fell, so it's time to get them back up. 58 is the goal there, and I'm in the mid-56s right now, with about a month and a half remaining of regular season until March Madness, or tournament week starts, then March Madness. So overall, all 21 podcasts that I've given you this season, every single pick, 860 wins, 619 losses, 14 pushes, 58.15%. The goal is still 59, but at 58%, please, call me daddy. It's just what it is, been rolling. You got to remember that all these picks are 100% free. So for all those touts out there that give you 75 to 80% winners, all right, we all know you're full of shit. Plus, you're charging for these picks. With me, just come to YouTube every week and I'll drop my plays on you for free. You can also follow me on X at Stony Woods, STONIE Woods. I gave you all the NCAA picks Tuesday through today, and entering tonight's games, I'm 20, 17, and 1 while I'm watching action right now, and the only way I'm going to hit this Xavier total is there's a minute and a half left, and the only way I'm going to hit this is if Xavier sends it to overtime, because they're not going to cover the number here. Georgetown's playing out of their freaking minds. It's driving me nuts. Anyway, tomorrow is a massive day for college hoops, as are all Saturdays in the winter. So you ready? Let's get it going tomorrow in the Atlantic 10 at noon Eastern in Amherst, where I like George Washington +7 on the road at UMass. Noon Eastern in the ACC on the CW network in Raleigh. I'm going to go with North Carolina State here, -3.5 at home versus Virginia Tech. Noon Eastern in South Orange on FS1 in the Big East. Give me Seton Hall at home, +2.5 against number 18 Creighton. Noon Eastern on Big Fox at the world's most famous arena, a.k.a. Madison Square Garden in New York City. We'll stay in the Big East and roll with number 17 Marquette, -1 on the road at St. John's. Noon Eastern in the ACC on ESPN2 in upstate New York. I'm on Miami, Florida here, catching 1.5 on the road at Syracuse. Noon Eastern in the Big 12 on ESPN in Austin. Good matchup here. I like 9th-ranked Baylor, +1 on the road at Texas. 1 Eastern on SEC Network in Fayetteville. Let's go with South Carolina, catching 3 on the road at Arkansas. 50 seconds and counting. Georgetown with the ball in a 1-point lead. I'm just angry. This is just brutal. I'm just hoping for overtime. He missed the shot. Now Xavier's going to win the game, but they won't cover the number. Sorry, 30 seconds. He's driving to the hole. He kicks it out for a 3. And to the hole for the slam dunk with 30 seconds left. Unreal. At 1 Eastern on CBS in Boise, we have a good one in the Mountain West where I got to dance with San Diego State as a short 1-point favorite on the road over Boise State. 1 Eastern in the Queen City, another good Big 12 matchup where I'll take number 15 Oklahoma catching 4.5 on the road at Cincinnati. 2 Eastern in the Pac-12 on Big Fox in Tempe, I have to dance with Arizona State as 3-point home chalk over USC. 2 Eastern in the Big 12, give me Central Florida catching 16.5 on the road at 5th-ranked Houston. Just too many points. At 2 Eastern in the Big 10 on FS1 in Iowa City. 2nd-ranked Purdue is rolling right now. So I got to take the Boilermakers on the road, laying 7 at Iowa. Big 12 action at 2 Eastern on ESPNU in Fort Worth. I like Iowa State catching 4 on the road at TCU. 2 Eastern in the SEC on ESPN2 in Knoxville. Give me Tennessee -5 over Alabama on Rocky Top, because if you haven't been watching Tennessee's Dalton Connect, you're just missing out. This man is on a scoring binge right now that's just unbelievable, and I haven't seen anything like this in a long time. Dalton Connect, remember the name. This man is unbelievable right now. Vols -5. In the ACC at 2:15 Eastern in Chestnut Hill on the CW Network, I'm on 4th-ranked North Carolina as 8-point road chalk over Boston College. 3:30 Eastern on the SEC Network in Starkville. I'll lay 14 with Mississippi State at home over Vanderbilt, thus proving that I'm not a homer. Vanderbilt's 10 minutes away from here, but they're going to get crushed tomorrow by Mississippi State. 4 Eastern in the Pac-12 on ESPN. Again, don't call me a homer, but I like UCLA here. Catching 18 on the road in Tucson over 12th-ranked Arizona, who wins easily but doesn't win by 20. So give me the Bruins. In the SEC at 5 Eastern on ESPNU in Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge. Give me Texas A&M as 2.5-point road chalk at LSU is just overmatched. 5 Eastern on the Pac-12 Network in the shithole better known as Berkeley. Washington State is the play on the road, catching 1.5 at Cal. 6 Eastern on the SEC Network in Lexington. I got to take Georgia, +11.5 on the road at number 8 Kentucky. Again, Kentucky wins, doesn't cover, just too many points. Another good one in the Big 12 goes at 6 Eastern on ESPN2 in Lubbock, where I like 20th-ranked BYU -1 on the road at number 25 Texas Tech. 7:30 Eastern on the Mountain West Network in Laramie. Nevada is the play on the road, laying 8 at Wyoming. And Xavier wins it by a point, and I just lost. I just can't even take this anymore. This is just brutal. So let's make a quick little flip here. And VCU, there we go. VCU's going to more than make up for it. They're up by 17, crushing St. Louis. I took VCU here. This one's going to make up for that freaking Xavier. Brutal 1-point win over shitty-ass Georgetown. Just makes no sense. Getting back to the picks. 8 Eastern on the ACC Network in Durham. I got to dance with 7th-ranked Duke at home to get their revenge, laying 12 at home over Pittsburgh. 8 Eastern in the Big East on FS1 in Stoniecast. Give me top-ranked Connecticut as a short 2-point road favorite at Villanova. Another good matchup. Classic matchup. Makes me think of, Jesus, Jim Calhoun and Raleigh Massimino, UConn and Nova. Man, love some of these. That's another thing. What's an old school NFL matchup? What, the Raiders and the Chiefs, the Bears and the Lions, they don't have the same Connecticut, Villanova. Come on. 8:30 Eastern on the SEC Network. Number 22 Ole Miss is the play as 13-point road dogs at 13th ranked Auburn. 9 Eastern on the Pac-12 Network in Palo Alto. Yes, I said Palo Alto. I got to take Stanford as a short 2-point home chalk over Washington. And finally, the Degenerate Special tomorrow night goes at 10 Eastern in the West Coast Conference in the City by the Bay, where I'll take St. Mary's, lay the 1 point on the road at San Francisco. Are 26 selections enough for a crazy Saturday? What's going to have to do to go along with both sides of all 4 NFL divisional playoff matchups. Speaking of the NFL divisional playoffs, let's get it all started, because I know you degenerates have been sitting around waiting. When's Stoney going to finish his damn college basketball picks and get to the NFL? Well, let's go. Tomorrow, 4:30 Eastern on ESPN at M&T Bank Stadium, where the 13-4 Ravens are 9.5-point home favorites over the 10-7 Texans, with the total set at 43.5. Baltimore won 6 straight and 10 of 11 at the end of the season before they dropped a meaningless game, the last game of the season, to Pittsburgh. There's a reason Baltimore owns the top seed and is the favorite to win the AFC title next weekend. An incredibly balanced team that can beat you by running the ball, passing the ball, with defense, and a top-notch special teams unit featuring the best kicker in NFL history. Not to mention a head coach who already owns a Super Bowl ring. But it all starts with MVP favorite Lamar Jackson, and when he's going right, the Ravens are a tough team to slow down. But Jamal's had his issues in January. Plenty. 1-3 career in the playoffs. Sorry, not just in January, but 1-3 career with 7 interceptions. So he's got a lot to prove. Enter Houston head coach D'Amico Ryans. The defensive wizard has his Texans D playing better and better as the season wore on. Houston won the last 3 games to close out the regular season, and they stole the AFC South from Jacksonville and Indianapolis before absolutely pounding Cleveland last week in the wild card matchup. Rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud is playing like a seasoned vet and has shown no signs of the moment being way too big for him. He's going to have his hands full, though, with Baltimore's defense and their dynamic linebackers. But Baltimore can't get caught napping, or Stroud's going to light him up. With 2 top defenses getting after it, I'm going to roll with Houston and all the points to go along with under 43.5 as 2 teams pound it out in the cold weather. Tomorrow night, the NFL playoffs shift to the NFC and to the Silicon Valley at 8:15 Eastern on Fox at 501 Denim Jeans Stadium, where the 12-5 49ers are 9.5-point home favorites over the 9-8 Packers, and the total set at 50.5. Green Bay won the last 3 games of the regular season to snag the NFC's last playoff spot before going on the road last week and throttling the Cowboys in Dallas. Jordan Love is playing with no fear, and he shouldn't have any fear because nobody expects anything from the Packers. Aaron Jones missed a lot of time this season, and with various injuries, now that he's finally healthy, his fresh legs have given Jordan Love more time to look for his young but talented wide receivers downfield, right? Jones has rushed for 100 yards in 4 straight games. Defensively, though, the Pack is susceptible to big plays, and that's a problem tomorrow. The 49ers feast on big plays. From their trio of wide receivers in Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle, to say nothing of Christian McCaffrey pounding away on the ground and as a 4th receiver. The bye week helped the 49ers get healthy, and they're exactly that right now, with the best defense in the NFL stopping the run, so Jordan Love is going to have to carry the Pack across the finish line. Not going to happen. Great season and great run, Packers, but it ends here because anybody that thinks they're going to repeat what they did last week at Jerry World against this 49er team is high. Now, the rain, and there's going to be plenty of it, could play a lot in this, but I think the Niners win and it goes over, and the Niners could possibly hang 40 on them. It's going to wind up costing the books. Give me the Niners and the over. Sunday, game 1. Goes at 3 Eastern on NBC at Ford Field, where the 12-5 Lions are 6.5-point home favorites over the 9-8 Bucks, and the total set at 48.5. VCU's up 21. Yes, winner. That's chicken dinner I'll accept. Tampa swiped the NFC South by winning 5 of their final 6 to close out the season before pounding the Eagles and their quitter philosophy last week in Tampa. Even though they can't run the ball, the Bucs continue to win because Baker Mayfield is playing the best football of his career right now, and Todd Bowles' defense is always solid and shifty. They're going to have to be solid on Sunday to slow down the Lions in front of their boisterous Lion fans that will be even louder than they were in last week's win over the Rams. Dan Campbell has built a culture of toughness in Detroit with a shared power running game and a steady quarterback that doesn't need to do everything but still makes all the throws as long as he has time. All this while their bend but don't break defense that allowed Matt Stafford to have his way with him until the Rams got into the red zone last week. That's where they stalled. Mayfield has been hotter, but Goff is more steady and takes less chances because of his running game. If Baker has the hot hand, that means the public is on his nutsack. So I'll go against the grain, take the Lions, and lay the 6.5. I'll also take the over here as it's going to be close to the total, but Lions win at 30-20. The closing game of the weekend is the marquee matchup at 6:30 Eastern on CBS at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, as the 11-6 Bills are 2.5-point home chalk over the 11-6 Chiefs, and the total set at 45.5. Kansas City struggled this season after losing Eric Bieniemy as their wildly successful OC, a gang of receivers that dropped too many passes, an aging tight end that is clearly distracted trying to be a celebrity instead of the borderline Hall of Famer that he is, and a quarterback that has clearly regressed this season. KC's defense, though, is vastly underrated, and they've carried this team this year, as they did in last week's beatdown of Miami in the wild card matchup. That defense has to be at their best on Sunday against the NFL's hottest team. At 6-6, the Bills were toast and were written off, but head coach Sean McDermott decided to let Josh Allen be himself and let it rip. And it led to the Bills winning their last 5 games to close out the season, and they beat up on Pittsburgh in last week's wildcard game, costing me because I had Pitt in the points. These two teams have plenty of history, with the Chiefs always seem to be getting the better of the Bills, except for that game a couple months ago or 2 months ago where Mahomes had the mental breakdown because of Kadarius Toney lined up off sides and the whole thing, and the Bills got him, but whatever. Anyway, when it matters, Kansas City always seems to be getting the best, right? But all of those matchups were in Kansas City. This time, Orchard Park. Bills Mafia is going to be screaming obscenities at Taylor Swift for 4 hours. As much as I like what the Bills have done this year over the last 2 months, especially, I just find it hard to ever give Patrick Mahomes points, where he's 9-1 his career against the number and 7-3 straight up. This feels like the Chiefs are like the Eagles from last year. Eagles made the Super Bowl and they were 10-1 this year, and then they just fell apart down the stretch. Kansas City has never lived up to what they did last year, this year, and they've struggled all year. But they're not going to give up because they have Andy Reid. So give me the Chiefs and the number and the under to close it all out, right? So that's both AFC dogs and both NFC favorites. So that's it for what should be a very interesting weekend. All 4 NFL sides with totals and a shit ton of college hoops to deal with tomorrow. That's 34 picks. As a reminder, make sure to check back in every day starting Sunday in the comments section of this video for college hoops picks. And that's going to roll all the way into Stoniecast 125 next Friday, right around this time. Also, just remember that all I do is get you the information to get you to the window where I'll be waiting with a ticket to cash, right? So until then, just remember that if you want to win big, you got to bet big. You can't go broke taking a profit, never. Scared money don't make money, which means you got to drop it. For me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets, it can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you. Miss you, Gooch. And happy birthday on Tuesday to my brother. I'm sad I won't be able to call you and celebrate your birthday.